Good morning, and welcome. My name is Tim Atkins. I'm proud to serve as your Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. For those with visual impairments or really rough bandwidth, I am wearing a bright red shirt, rainbow glasses. I'm a big and tall white guy with brown hair. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness. No matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming, we greet you today with love. I'd like to extend a special welcome to everyone who is watching us on YouTube this morning, or later on during the week. During the prelude, please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from. If you're in Oklahoma City, what neighborhood are you in? Or if you're elsewhere, what city you're in. And now, the prelude prepares us for worship.
Our chalice lighting today is Jessica and Jack Borgia-Lothrop. We light our chalice here in our building in Midtown, Oklahoma City, on land that was home to indigenous peoples, including the Apache, Caddo, and Wichita, on land that was taken from the Muskogee and Seminole and other removed and relocated peoples. We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope. Welcome again to those of us who are joining, those of you who are joining us online. Y para nuestros amigos que hablan español, buenos días. I am Reverend Diana Davies, and my pronouns are she, her, and for those who are blind, have a visual impairment, or are watching us online with limited bandwidth, I am a white woman with long gray hair and glasses, wearing a clergy robe and stole. On a typical Memorial Day, we remember the courageous individuals who chose to take up arms and go into battle, and who died defending their country. Today, we remember those individuals. We also remember the people of Ukraine, the refugees, those who want to leave but are unable to do so, those who have died under a barrage of bullets and bombs, those who live in terror under ruthless foreign occupation, and those courageous individuals who have chosen to risk their lives in defense of their country. And this morning, we also are in mourning and remembrance of the victims, the latest horrific mass shootings in our country, including the one that took the lives of 19 young children and 2 teachers in Uvalde, Texas. And just last night in Taft, Oklahoma, 7 people injured and 1 dead, and yet more gun violence. With great heaviness on our hearts, let's take a moment of silence. And if you pray, I invite you to say a prayer for peace. Amen. Today we will be addressing head-on the horror of gun violence in our country, including the mass shooting of people of color and religious minorities, our modern-day mass lynching, and the massacre of children. Because of the frank way we'll be discussing this topic, today's service is probably not appropriate for children. And for this reason, we have play and connection spaces for our children and youth that will extend throughout today's service. So I don't see any, but if there are children and youth who'd like to join one of those groups, I invite you to go to the side and a volunteer will help show you to your room. The rising 6th graders and up will be in the youth room. That's where you'll find your students after the service. So rising 6th graders and up will be in the youth room downstairs, and 5-year-olds through 5th graders will be in the kaleidoscope room upstairs, and they are there with volunteers watching over them right now. For the adults, I invite you to check in with your hearts throughout the service. And if what we're discussing ever feels like too much, I invite you at any time to step away from your screen if you're joining us at home, or step out of the pew if you're with us in person and get a breath of fresh air. But for now, let's settle into our seats. And I invite you to just look around you, just scan your perimeter, just look around you, see who is behind you and who's next to you. And maybe offer a look that says, it's okay, I'm here. We begin our service with these words from Youth Poet Laureate Amanda Gorman, words she wrote in response to the school shooting in Texas. Quote, "The truth is, one nation under guns. What might we be if we only tried? What might we become if we'd only listen? Schools scared to death. The truth is, one education under desks. Stoop low from bullets that plunge when we ask where our children shall live, and how, and if." Unquote. I invite you to join me in singing the meditation on breathing. It's in your teal hymnals, number 1009, but it's very simple. You may not even need to look it up. And there are going to be 3 parts. The first part I invite you to take if you are someone who does not feel very comfortable singing, because it's a chant and it's just one step away from talking. And that goes like this. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And that's how it goes, just over and over. And your sign to start is going to look like this. And when it's time to start getting quiet and finishing, I'm going to go like this. But just otherwise, keep it going. Don't stop. That same rhythm. And then we're going to have people kind of in a middle range who are a little more comfortable singing. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. So if you're comfortable singing there, why don't you join me? When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. All right, your sign to get started is going to be when I go like this. And when I go like this, start getting quiet and fading out. The descant is for our people who can sing in the highest octaves, which is a little above where I can sing, so bear with me. But it's going to be something like this. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. So if you're in that high range, try it with me. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. All right. Your sign to start is when I bring my hands way up like this, and your sign to stop is when I go like this. So remember, if you're doing the chant, keep it going. You're going to start it and you're going to end it. The song in the middle is going to start when I indicate to you, and when I go like this, it means it's time to stop. And the last part is going to be this high part. Let's try it. Tim, would you also help with the lower part? All right, so here we go. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Keep going. Breathe in, breathe out. Here comes the other part. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Here we go, high part. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out. Breathe in,
Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe out. So, even if you aren't a parent, there are still children in your lives. You might not believe it all the time, but I guarantee it because there are children right here at this church, and they are in your lives. So before we get into our service on despair and rage, I wanted to take a few minutes to talk with everyone about how to talk with children and youth about terrible things. And I bet you'll learn something here that helps you talk to your fellow adults about terrible things too, if not something that will help you personally cope. And these tips stem from the Mayo Clinic. So first is to remain calm. Children look to adults and how they're acting for cues on how they should act. Now this isn't to say you shouldn't show any emotions. Crying is okay and it's normal. But if you're experiencing intense emotions, you need to process those emotions first. Like to say you need to put your own air mask on first, because if you're extremely agitated, kids will follow your lead. Next is to reassure safety. Point out concrete ways your child is safe in their immediate environment. Make your home a comfortable space. Maybe you look to have a special place in your home that's extra cozy for kids to go to and adults to go to, frankly, when they need time with their big feelings. Next is to limit media exposure. If you're watching the news nonstop, your kids are watching the news nonstop too. And seeing the tragedy on the TV nonstop will heighten everyone's anxiety. If the child is older, like a high school youth, help them to learn how to consume media responsibly. Teach them to find good sources beyond just YouTube. And teach them how to limit their own media exposure to help ease their own anxiety. Next is to avoid placing blame. Now, this is a hard one. But when something awful happens, and your kids hearing you blaming a specific group of people for what happens, they will pick up on those biases, and it will impact how they view them in the future. So for example, don't blame people with mental illness for school shootings, because it might make kids hesitant to seek help for mental illness in their future. If you need to, redirect blame away from a generalization and toward specifics. Next is to maintain your routines. It can be hard when you're filled with rage and or despair, but maintaining your and your family's routine when tragedy strikes is important. It helps give a comfortable structure to processing uncomfortable emotions. It gives something concrete for your body to rely on when your mind is troubled. Next is to spend extra time together. Make more time to spend together as a family. Maybe throw in an extra game night or two, for example. And spend time together with your friends to remember the importance of love when the world seems awful. Next is to encourage the expression of feelings. Now, I happen to love art or other creative activities to do this, but each person has their own way. Don't teach kids to bottle up their feelings or that feelings are wrong. Let your child express those feelings, from writing to painting to dance to whatever works best for you and your children. And then finally, do something. Consider ways to take action as a family. I love the activity of making a protest sign, even if I'm not going to a protest, because it forces you to express your feelings and values in a concise way, no matter your age. And then head to a protest, or write a letter to an elected official, or write thank you notes to people who helped in the tragedy. Find a way for each member of your family to take action, including yourself, so they can feel like they have some power when they might be feeling completely powerless to help. And finally, just to stress, you need to take care of yourself too. Get enough sleep, Eat a healthy and or favorite meal. For me, that's usually the favorite meal. Take some time to just be by yourself outside. Stay active, because not only will this be a great model for your family and friends, it'll help you process and cope too. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Sandra Flansburgh up for our call to offering.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Flansburgh, and my pronouns are she, her. I've served this wonderful congregation in many ways, including as a long past president, and I currently participate in Voice, Run the Bookstore, and Ring Bells. Every Sunday we take an offering. Since 2002, all the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to the external nonprofit organizations doing good work, our Change for Change partners. For the month of May, our Change for Change partner is Voice. Voice is organized in civic engagement. Voice's mission is to bring together churches, unions, schools, and nonprofits so that we can work together in the ways that we agree on and together effect improvements in our city. It is one of our church's main ongoing ways of working in the wider interfaith community in Oklahoma City, alongside churches like St. Charles Borromeo Catholic, Mayflower Congregational, and Greater Mount Olive Baptist churches. One of our activities is organizing accountability sessions where we share our issues with candidates for public office, raising the visibility of those concerns via stories, and giving every candidate, regardless of political party, the chance to commit to work with us to bring about needed change. First Unitarian was a central part of getting this organizing group going from the beginning in 2008 and has been a member since Voice was founded in 2012. Change for Change helps pay our yearly dues. For those of you who are in the sanctuary with us today, in just a moment we'll be passing the offering plate. If you're not able to make a gift today, we invite you to write a note of encouragement to Voice or share a concern you would like us to know about. If you're watching us online, please make your gift by sending a check to First Unitarian and just write Change for Change on the memo line, or make an online payment through our website, 1UC.org.
My homily is, let me make sure I'm on. There we go. My homily today is titled On Rage. Rage, 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 rage. This week I've been filled with rage over the Texas school shooting. Rage at the idea that somehow banning abortions will stop abortions, but banning guns won't stop gun violence. Rage at everyone who refuses to enact common sense gun restrictions even when 90% of Americans agree on it. Rage at everyone who has gotten a Supreme Court appointment with the worst interpretation of the Second Amendment I can imagine. Rage that police say they're afraid for their lives when they justify shooting an unarmed black youth, but when they're actually afraid for their lives, they hide. Rage that guns that even cops are too afraid of are perfectly legal to own. Rage, rage, rage. I've been filled with rage. A whole litany of rage. And I bet all of you have felt some of this rage this week too. And rage is not a feeling I like all that much. Rage can make me feel awful. Rage can make me do things I wouldn't normally do. Rage can give an easy out when you don't know what else to feel. Rage really feels like, well, a bunch of crap. Now, I know that's not a very holy word to say from the pulpit, but rage feels like you're just being weighed down by crap. But crap can be more than just this awful feeling. Because crap literally, now bear with me, crap literally is manure. And if you use the crap the right way, like you would use manure, it can churn into an amazing fertilizer for growth. So this week after the rains, I worked on getting some of my rage out on my backyard. I viciously attacked a plot of grass and planted some gem corn seeds. We'll see if I'm actually able to get them to grow. And I attacked weeding my overgrown flower bed. And sure, maybe that's a bit literal for seeing rage as manure, but it's true. I had to channel that rage somehow or I would obsess over it. I could see myself quickly going down the path of doom scrolling on social media and watching cable news nonstop. And I knew in the end it would cause my rage to spiral. So sudden and active gardening it was. Now this got me thinking about how when I have felt the most rage in my life, I've always felt the need to channel that rage into something productive, into something creative, into something that helps repair the rage-induced wounds to my soul. And it got me thinking about other ways how rage can serve like fertilizer rather than just feeling like crap. Rage can make us feel like crap because rage can make us slam into a brick wall and break ourselves in the process. I'm reminded of the rage I felt after Newtown, Connecticut, and when nothing changed. It felt like that was a moment when things would change. And when nothing changed, it was like we as a society accepted that school shootings were just going to be a thing from now on. We slammed into a brick wall, and it broke us. So for me personally, I can think of times when I was so filled with rage over something in the news that something like short-circuited in my brain. And the only way to cope was through binge watching something for days on end. And it's usually something that would help me escape, like RuPaul's Drag Race. Now I know that when I have the urge to spend days on end absorbed into a different world, then my rage is breaking me. And I need to tend to my soul and look for those creative ways to turn rage into fertilizer. Rage can be like fertilizer because it can help us propel over a brick wall. There are times when our collective rage has been too powerful to ignore, and things changed. Now sadly, this isn't as common as I'd like it to be at the moment. There have been some times we've collectively said that just this is not okay, and that things must change. That's not to say the problems have been solved, but I'm thinking of something like the Me Too movement. Sexual assault is still prevalent in our society, but rage broke through the firewall that kept these stories secret. There's obviously still a lot more work to do, but how we talked about sexual assault changed forever because of our collective rage. For me in my life, I can tell the rage is working to propel me when I can tell that burning rage has become righteous indignation. When that rage gets me off the couch and onto the streets, or recently a lot at the state capitol building, to make my voice heard. Because the only way for all of us to propel over a brick wall is for all of us to use our voices so no one is left behind. Rage can feel like crap because it can burn out our compassion. Rage forces us to have tunnel vision. And in that tunnel vision, we lose sight of everyone and everything on the margins. Rage can force us into extreme either-or thinking. Either you agree with me or you're dead to me. Rage can easily lead us right into despair. It can absolutely burn out our compassion, especially when every day there's something new to rage over, which has seemed to be the case lately here in Oklahoma. Rage can also burn out our compassion for ourselves. Like, who has ever thought, why are you complaining or upset about this small, trivial thing when don't you know what just happened in the news? In my life, I know the rage is burning out my compassion when I feel like I can't make a difference as an individual. So I then think, why bother even trying? I bet most of you have thought something like that before, when the rage has just gotten to be too much. So now I know that's a sign that when I start to have those thoughts about what can I really do to change things, that my rage is burning out my compassion. And I need to tend to my soul, and I need to start with compassion for myself. But rage can be like fertilizer because it can be transformed into fierce compassion. Bonamiatai Terrace said, rage, whether in reaction to social injustice or to our leaders' insanity or to those who threaten or harm us, is a powerful energy that, with diligent practice, can be transformed into fierce compassion. And I love that thought. First off, it moves rage from spiritual crappiness into a spiritual practice. And I think that's just fabulous. But rage at an injustice can move us to have a deep compassion for the victims of the injustice. We just need to learn to turn toward the compassion for victims and away from the rage over the perpetrators. Now that is not easy to do, I know, but that's why they call it a spiritual practice and not a spiritual habit. Now in my life, I felt this most acutely when I served as an abortion clinic escort in New Jersey. My rage over the protesters harassing these women who were just trying to see a doctor to make a decision that frankly is none of my business turned into a deep compassion for the women who were just trying to get medical help. And that's what led me to volunteer as a clinic escort for a couple of years. Instead of yelling at the protesters, I focused first and foremost on the patients, making sure that they were feeling comfortable and safe and distracted as they walked through the gauntlet of protesters. Rage is crap, but rage can be like fertilizer. Snowbird Khan in 1,000 Flamingos said, "My dear, we are all made of water. It's okay to rage sometimes. It's okay to rest, to recede." So on your way in, you may have picked up some seed leaf paper, and if you did not, you can get it from the back on your way out. I want you to take this home and write down everything you're feeling rage about on this paper and plant it somewhere, either at your home or another loved place, so something beautiful can grow from the seeds of your rage. So rage can be its fertilizer. Because rage can feel like crap, plain and simple. And as a side note, I doubt the word crap has ever been said so many times in a homily here before. You're welcome. But it's true. Rage can feel like crap. We all know it. But it's up to us to turn that crap into fertilizer. It's up to us to use that passion that rage gives us and channel it toward passionate compassion. It's not easy. And it's going to be a spiritual practice that, frankly, we all occasionally fail at sometimes. And that's okay. But over time, the more we try it, the easier it will be to turn our rage into fertilizer. Amen. I'd now like to invite Sarah Gray up for a musical offering. Sarah?
Go out and tell our story, let it echo far and wide. Make them hear you, make them hear you. How justice was our battle, and how justice was denied. Make them hear you, make them hear you. For the way we chose to fight, that sometimes there are battles that are more than black or white. And I could not put down my sword when justice was my right. Make them hear you, make them hear you. Go out and tell our story to your daughters and your sons. Make them hear you, make them hear you. And tell them in our struggle we were not the only ones. Make them hear you, make them hear you. Your sword can be a sermon, or the power of the pen, of the pen. Teach every child to raise his voice, and then, my brothers, then will justice be demanded by 10 million righteous men. Make them hear you when they hear you. I'll be near you again. Thank you.
A few days ago, scrolling through Facebook in a state of numbness, I came across a post that someone had shared in which the writer described the scene in heaven. 19 children and 2 teachers had just arrived. And this is a quote from that text, quote, "Everyone up here has been expecting these tiny celebrities. These kids have been on everybody's mind. The boss himself is a huge fan of these kids. They say he's been waiting at the gate for their triumphant arrival since about 3 million BC. And here they came. The doors opened, their little faces burst through the hallway of life into life everlasting, and all eternity cheered." Unquote. Reading that post made me sick to my stomach. And then I started to read the responses. One person whose father recently died mentioned that she was glad he was there in heaven to witness this joyous homecoming of all the little children and their brave teachers. Another said that she was happy that Mr. Garcia was able to join his wife. Mr. Garcia was the husband of one of the teachers, and he died of a heart attack 2 days after his wife's murder, and the couple left behind 4 orphan children. We all deal with tragedy in different ways, and it is not right for me or anyone else to judge others and how they process their own grief. Some of us need to go numb for a bit. Some of us swim to happy distractions like islands in a lake of tears. And it's important that we listen to our bodies and not take on more grief than we can bear. But I can tell you that for me, personally, the act of making the victims of a massacre into celebrities and suggesting that all eternity celebrates their death is nothing short of obscene. And a theology that allows for a God who eagerly awaits for millions of years the arrival of murdered children into his paradise is no less offensive than one that allows for a God who creates and maintains a system of eternal suffering. I cannot stomach the idea that the murder of innocents can ever be associated with words like triumph or cheering. The most positive words I can imagine ever connecting to a massacre like the one that occurred in Uvalde last week, and in Buffalo before that, and San Jose before that, and Boulder before that, and El Paso before that, and Pittsburgh before that, and on and on and on. The best words I can even try to associate with those atrocities are justice and peace. And those are only aspirational words. I don't expect that the victims or their families or all the others left traumatized by mass shootings will see true justice anytime soon. At best, it will be a long, arduous climb towards something closer to justice, with many curbs and pitfalls along the way. And as much as I pray for peace every day for us all, I don't expect that all humans, let alone all beings, will know peace in their lifetimes. And yet, we keep working for peace and justice because the alternative is despair. Despair is the bottomless pit, the black hole we look into but don't actually fall into when we open ourselves for true grief and mourning. Despair is what those who would twist a mass murder into a narrative of heavenly victory are trying so desperately to avoid. Despair is not the mouth of a parent twisted in agony over the loss of their child. It is not the scream of the now teenage survivor of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting who is so traumatized that the sound of a box falling to the ground sends her instantly back to that moment hiding in a classroom, watching her best buddies die. Despair is not the churning in our stomachs or the urge to retch as we watch the news of yet another massacre, muttering to ourselves, not again, not again, not again. Despair isn't the heartbreak we feel as we realize that many in our country, many in positions of power, maybe even people within our own families, value the unfettered access of any kind of weapon to any person more highly than they value the lives of human beings. Despair is not the heartbreak we feel when we read about the young women who received threats of sexual assault or murder from the 18-year-old gunman in Texas, but didn't think to report it because they're so used to that kind of misogyny that it didn't even register as abnormal. No, despair is what comes when we no longer find any of these things to be devastating, when we can no longer say and mean it, it shouldn't be like this. Saccharine stories about angels cheering as murdered children are welcomed into heaven are nothing but candy-coated despair. Politicians who offer up thoughts and prayers and do nothing to prevent the next mass shooting, who almost gleefully absolve themselves of all responsibility and suggest that perhaps the problem is that there aren't enough guns. They trade in despair. They, in fact, depend on it. And they are winning. Poll after poll shows that more and more Americans have accepted that mass shootings are just a part of life. And it's become an all too familiar pattern. After a mass shooting, there's an outpouring of pain, and it rolls across our opinion pages and our social media like a great flood of outrage. But like a flash flood, it has nowhere to go. Much of it flushes into the sewers, and it leaves behind no trace, no change in policies, no change in perspectives. But it doesn't have to be this way. Instead of despair, we can open our hearts to grief and mourning, because mourning holds hope for change. When we mourn, it is our hearts telling us they can still feel, and that they still know deep down that it shouldn't be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Instead of covering up the pit of despair with plywood platitudes, we can harness our tears and use them to effect change like water moves over a mill wheel or a road stone. Sometimes our pain comes in a torrent, and sometimes it drips, drips, drips. But the point is that it's persistent, and nothing, not even the greatest stone, nothing can resist it over time, because it is relentless. And until the day comes when our children know peace and safety and love, not in some pastel heaven, but in this life, we owe them, at the very least, our tears. Not the abandonment that comes with despair, but cleansing tears that are testament to our belief that it shouldn't be like this. It does not have to be like this. Back in 2005, Buddhist environmentalist Joanna Macy was leading a retreat of about 60 people on the topic of climate change. And near the end of their time together, the participants in that retreat passed around a bowl of water. And as the bowl came around, each person dipped their hands into the water, and they let it drain through their fingers as they said, "My tears are for," and they named the things that they were grieving. Today, we'll practice a modified version of this ritual. First, to the water, we add salt. Salt is essential to life. It is our oceans and our tears. Tears cleanse our eyes so that we can see more clearly, and they remind us that we have a heart that can still be broken. And in this, there is both release and hope. So let this water then represent the tears we shed, or the tears we've been holding back. And as Hannah plays some beautiful music, Rodney will invite you row by row to come to one of the 3 stations up in the front, and Tim and Susan Bishop, lead of our Befrienders, our lay pastoral care team, and I will each be at one station. And as you approach, please place your hands over the bowl of water like this, and we will pour a small amount over your hands, and as the water drips through your fingers, I invite you to say, "My tears are for," and name the thing that is breaking your heart. And if it's too much to say it out loud, just say it silently. Please use the center aisle to come forward and the side aisles to return to your seat. The prayer I'd like to share with you today was written by Reverend M. Barclay, they, them, co-founder and director of the Enfleshed Collective. Please join me in a spirit of prayer meditation. Gentle presence, patient listener, holy holder of it all, our prayer is this. We are so sad. It's not an ask, it's not a confession, it's an offering, the only one we have today. And we're praying it with hope. We know grief is a lifeline, tethering us to the world that should be, the one worth fighting for. As a practice of faith, we will not deaden these feelings that let us know all is not well. We will not adjust to cruelty or disregard for life, detaching ourselves from humanity, ours or others. We will not allow once unimaginable scenarios to be turned into everyday losses that no longer pierce our souls. And so here are our tears. Here are our tired bodies. Here are our foggy, distracted minds bearing witness to the place within that aches for the ones we love, for friends and strangers, for everyone being pushed into impossible situations. Our sadness is a testimony. It is not our only one. Tomorrow, hope or fight or curiosity will bear their truth and pull us back into the labors we love in the company of others. But today, the only riot in us is this sorrow, refusing to quiet the cry from within. We are made for so much better than this. Amen. I'm going to lead you in a call and response song written by Melanie DeMoore. We're going to start it slow, coming out of this place where we've been, and we're going to build it back into a place of power, back into a place of action. So we're going to start it slow, and I'm going to ask you all to sing the chorus. Right? So everybody come in for the chorus. It's really simple. It's not written in your order of service, because you got this. It goes like this. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Now we know not everybody leads by putting one foot in front of the other. Some lead by rolling. And I just want to lift that up. But here again are the words. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You got it. And if you want to add some harmony to that, that would be beautiful. The chorus each time, we're going to sing those two lines 2 times through, all right? And then I'm going to say some words, and I invite you to repeat them after me, all right? So when I say, don't give up hope, you say, don't give up. Right? You're not alone. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. You got it? All right, so here we go. Let's start with the chorus again. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Second time. Gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up. Don't give up. You're not alone. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. The path is there. Speed up a bit. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with. I know you're scared.
I know you're scared.
Well, I'm scared too.
Well, I'm scared too.
But here I am.
But here I am.
Right next to you.
Right next to you.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. And lead with love. And lead with love.
We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of love and community which continues to burn in our hearts.
Just a reminder that after our service today, you are welcome to join us in Daniel Hall for coffee and cold drinks. And remember that the kids groups, the breakout groups, will be ending at the same time, so you're welcome to go and grab them in the kaleidoscope room or in the youth room downstairs. Instead of words of a blessing, I want to leave you today with some tangible steps, because action is actually the best blessing. Instead of feeling hopeless, let's network with the people who've been on the ground and advocating for change for a long time. An organization that has been a long-time partner with First Unitarian, and a number of our members are very involved with them, is an organization in our city called Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. So I encourage you to go to their website, donate, find resources for communicating with your legislators, and sign up to volunteer for moms events. Everytown.org is another great organization. You might work on getting out the vote with Voice, You the Vote, the League of Women Voters, or other pro-democracy groups, and consider participating in the March for Our Lives on June 11th. You don't need to go to Washington, D.C. There will be one right here in Oklahoma City. And above all, do not give in to despair, as tempting as that lure may be. Keep fighting, keep crying, keep going on, and know that you are not alone. Let's sing ourselves out with that song one more time. Please rise in body or in spirit. Let's keep it a nice, happy tempo. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with hope. moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other